I'm not sure if I have time to do elements, totems, and directions all in one, but I'm going to try to. Elements are a bit confusing when you really try to dissect it, and you try to say, okay, if I'm just trying to find raw energy and it's nothing else is added to it and it's just a raw energy, people overthink this a lot. This is something that people have way overanalyzed, unfortunately. I don't do the modern paganism. That's narrow-minded. It doesn't show you the entire picture. I want to show you everything. So most people in modern paganism are going to say wind, water, fire, earth, blood, dark, light. But you're missing things in that. It's construed. It's a lot easier to say energy, raw energy, that may be related to one another in some way, but to separate it. They're trying to fit everything into one little box. You know, one thing that I did not hear at all in that mention? Code. A lot of people think that code is just the absence of heat, but it is not. It is a very powerful energy. It is energy. It is its own thing. It's not the absence of anything. It's energy. But no one mentioned it. You never hear anyone mention that. You don't even hear them mention ice, I understand that water and ice, ice is just frozen water, and so therefore you've got cold and water together, technically are two elements, right? Well, I like to look at it this way. It starts to get way too complicated when you think about stuff like that. Way too complicated. So, if it's an energy and it's different, even though it's similar, if it's different in any way, you're going to separate it. So, you separate water from ice. You separate the fire of the earth from the fire of the sun, because they're two way different energies, trust me. They're just, even the feel of it is different. You're going to separate, even, let's see, I want to find a really good example. Okay, so you're going to separate hair and bone from blood, for example. And people do acknowledge that these are separate, but they don't include them all when they talk about it in general, and I believe that you just cannot do that. You cannot. When you talk about rain or snow, that comes from a storm. So really, it's a component of a storm. It almost gets into the totemic. Totemic are things that are a little more complex. They're not just raw energy. They've got a soul to them. They can think. A storm, even stones, we pagans believe, even the ones that are modernized believe, that stones have their own soul. They can think, they can feel, they can communicate, just not in the way that people communicate. But basically, we call stones actually the ancestors, because they've been here so long, they've seen so many things, they're very old souls. And typically a stone, instead of having life after life after life and being reborn again and again and again like we are, typically a stone doesn't have a lot of lives. It just has one big long life. So anyway, going back to storm energy, that's wind, it's water, it's lightning. I would separate lightning, at least separate it in terms of general electricity, because I believe that's its own thing. And then it's got dark energy, and it's also got cold energy. When you think about it, a storm never brings heat. It might be birthed when heat is present, heat might actually initiate or trigger a storm to be born. But it is there to cool things off, not to warm things up. So the soul of the storm does not have heat in it. The soul of the storm, even though it might feed off heat, the soul of the storm is cold. So that's just one example. Totems are so diverse, they're so vast. They are so vast. One thing before I forget, a soul in general, its core, right? Its core has to have at least one element. It's either going to be light or dark, or a mixture of light and dark. But you'll find one or the other, at least, in every soul that lives. They at least have to have one of those elements. If not, some have both. Humans usually have light. A creature of the night usually has dark. But there are a lot that have a bit of both. So, anyway, moving on to the directions. Oh, wait. I got ADHD, sorry. Totems. You cannot possibly know all the totems I just for me to sit here and tell you what all the totems mean, I would be sitting here and telling you it for years. You're talking about every species of tree and rock and all these different, species of animals, and it would be way too long of a list. Bugs even. I mean, you just can't. So starstuffs.com, if you're looking for a specific totemic meaning, they're good, they're not perfect. They're one of the better ones. I'll say that. What you have to run into, unfortunately, what you run into sometimes is someone telling you the polar opposite of what a totem actually stands for. So what you really have to do is you have to back it up with your own experiences. You have to really listen to that, whatever that totem is trying to tell you. A totem's coming to you for a reason. They come to you for in the time usually you need them most. They'll come to you with some kind of really important message or something that they have to. So really listen to the signs and as to why they're there, what they're doing, what they're telling you, to figure out what their totemic meaning is. If you listen to that time and time again, you'll eventually start to understand, okay, this is when they come, this is what they do. And I had to do that with owl totem. I was it was one of my main totems, and I was being told by a lot of the indigenous people in the United States something totally different than what I'd always thought. I'd always thought that they were about warriors, protecting and fighting against and cleansing even negativity and evil. That they were powerful warriors that cleansed against anything negative, that fought evil, not that brought it. Well, unfortunately, it's an extremely terrible and, to be quite honest, just disrespectful, for them to say that the owl is the exact opposite of what it actually does. But that is what they've done. That is what most people, indigenous tribes in the United States, I found, that is what, unfortunately, and it's not much of a problem in Europe, thankfully, but in the United States, they're thinking that owl totem is, actually bringing evil to you, bringing bad luck to you. No, it's already there. It's either already there, or the owl can see into the future and knows that it will soon be there. And then what it's trying to do is it's trying to either warn you or protect you against it. It is not bringing it, and an owl sees truth, and it can only speak truth. So it's never going to be deceptive. It can see truth when no one else can. It can see the hidden. And so basically, if you haven't watched my other videos, basically an owl can, tell someone's intent. Even if they're a really good liar, they'll see right through them. What they're all about is finding evil and destroying it. Okay, that's what they're about. So to say that they bring it is just the polar opposite of what it actually does. So it's all about truth. and you've given it a lie. And that's where it's dangerous to just trust just anyone that tells you this is what it means, or just look up on the internet and to just only trust that that is the truth and nothing else. You've got to add your own experiences and your own whatever the totem is trying to tell you. You've got to listen to that message that it's trying to bring to you. So lastly, the directions. The directions are very, very closely linked to the seasons. However, if you are doing some kind of ritual or ceremony and you're relying on the energy of said direction, you're going to have to face that direction. So it's important to separate, because they are two separate things. So I'm going to talk about the 4 main directions. Of course, it's north, east, west, south. Okay. Most people, for whatever reason, when they're doing some kind of either healing ceremony or something that takes all aspects of the soul, when it's a spiraling, what I call spiraling, when you've got to take every single part of you that you're trying to work, it almost starts to spiral. Okay. And that spiral, usually people will start in the east. Not always, usually. The east is known to be the place of rebirth or birth, teaching, learning, new beginnings, and just kind of like the mind, the logic, the thought, you know, the information, the knowledge. All right. The let's see, the south is usually where they go next. So the south is usually more of an emotional, starting to get more, not just the knowledge, but insights, wisdom. The west is connecting those insights and wisdom with the body. You work on a lot of chakra stuff in the west because you're starting to connect your emotion with your body, your energy with the body. And then the north is where they go last. The north is basically once you've completely balanced in the west, once you become completely balanced, then you are in the north. The east is associated with spring. The south is associated with summer. The west is associated with fall, and the north, of course, is associated with winter. So you cannot go in those directions without running into the seasons. They are so interconnected, it's not even funny. So, a lot of times people will start out different places. A lot of times people will only have a certain direction or certain season that they're looking at when they're doing it. It just depends on whatever you're doing. But if it's a spiraling, you're gonna have to go to all of those. Now we've got above and below. Above is basically so really there's 6, I'd say, main directions. Above is you know, the universe, the stars. That below is earth. Okay. Anything earth. So there you go. Those are the basic things that I can think about when you're talking about the different energies and directions and things like that. It is a bit of a learning curve, and I couldn't possibly tell you every little bit of everything that it means. So some of this stuff you're just gonna have to find out on your own by practicing, by doing, because I would not have, I'd be sitting here for years telling you all the little pieces of it.